I'm really enjoying the panel discussions. You've got some of the best minds in the business, not just for recently and today, but since the MTA was founded 40 years ago. It is really extraordinary to watch Maria and Ralph and Alan and the group that was up there for that panel discussion. Of course, the one that David Keller ran in the morning. It's very insightful. There's a lot of information. Got to try and digest it all, but I think it's very, very, very good. I've been in the MTA for a long time. I am a big fan of doing what works, and I think Frank Texiera said it very well. When you have the most accurate information is the information you have now. And what I've done is I've morphed technical analysis into the fundamental data. So when people look at fundamental data, I look at the trend. And what that enables me to do is to extrapolate what should happen. You never know what's going to happen, but you can have a pretty good educated guess. And I use technical analysis to do that with economic data series, with earnings trajectory, and of course with price and volume data with the market itself.
Why would you say technical analysis works for you?
It's a tool. Technical analysis is a tool. I'm in disagreement with those that say one is better than the other. I think when they're both used in conjunction with each other, you can have more effective analysis. And I think from my job as a strategist, and I think I'm probably perceived more as a practical strategist versus an academic strategist. In other words, I'm more worried about what's happening than what could possibly be different this time. And what's happening is the fundamental data is improving and the technical data is improving. And as a result of that, I've been able to stay bullish throughout the last few years. I'm certainly much more of an intermediate to long-term strategist, and again, combining fundamental and technical analysis, I come to about the same point. My target for this year is 1760 for the S&P. I'm the high strategist on the street as of a couple of weeks ago, and I think that the opportunity is extraordinary. I think a couple of the panels talked about a generational opportunity that exists, and I think that's true. I think the valuations are trending better from historically low levels. I think the market is trending better from historically weak levels, and obviously making a new high, but it came from such a low level, and the trend has been so extraordinary and consistent that there's no reason to get off the ship. And I think the ship, there's a level of skepticism today that was, to me, the same magnitude as the optimism was in 2000. Today, what are the two most popular shows on CNBC? Fast Money and Mad Money. If you think about that, it's pretty extraordinary. And you look back to 2000, and the mutual fund complex had everything. It was buy and hold as far as the eye can see. Now that's dead, and fast money's better. I think it's the opposite, and ultimately that creates a generational opportunity where the better trend in fundamental and price data ends up making people money if they're on the long side of the trade. We also have historic austerity. Okay, you have cutbacks in the U.S. now with the sequestration. You've had China cutting back to try and curtail their home building and inflationary issues there. And of course you have the craziness in Europe where they're continuing to use austerity while printing money. Makes no sense to me, but whatever. So you do have some of the offset to the amount of money printing, and inflation is the austerity and the control and runaway inflation. I think ultimately that may change, but not for the foreseeable future.
What influence would that have on, let's say, currencies, notably the US dollar?
Well, currently the dollar continues to rally because we are the economy that is the most consistent, the most stable, growing the best, and still has a default currency. And I think until that changes, the currency moves are going to be toward developed versus non-developed. It'll be towards the U.S. Our view is that we're in kind of a post-S&L crisis on steroids, which if you go back into the early 1990s, I think we're similar to that. I think people forget that you walked into 1995, which was one of the best years in the history of the market, at up over 30%. With the first two quarters of the year were 0.5% GDP growth. You had two negative payroll numbers in April and May. Mexico had defaulted on their debt in the prior December. Orange County declared bankruptcy. And also the commodities were beginning to come under pressure. People forget, oil prices hit $10 a barrel. Not in the beginning of the 90s, it was at the end of the 90s. So can you have a good economy and good market without good commodities? You can, because you did. And I think that was in the post-S&L financial crisis. And I think we're certainly coming out of a financial crisis that makes that look tame. Well, I think that the transition of technical analysis is to what one of the panelists said earlier. It shouldn't be an us versus them thing. I've found, I walked into a portfolio manager's office one time, and he was looking at charts. And I said to him, I didn't know you were a technician. And he goes, I'm not a technician, like it was a bad thing to say. And I go, well, you're looking at charts. And he goes, it's fundamentals. I go, okay, it's charts of fundamental data. There should be no difference in whether you're analyzing price, volume, economic data, whatever the data is, it's understanding the direction of it, inflection points of it, trends of it. And that's, I think, where you're going to morph technical analysis into.